Welcome to the Social Stack, your go-to channel for marketing needs based in technology for your real estate business. I'm Amy Stack, and today we are covering conversations on how to navigate conversations with buyers in today's market. So we'll be talking about interest rates and inflation. And to help us do that, we do have a very special guest. Miss Tammy Sartain is one of our productivity coaches. So she is on today to help us with this conversation as well. So we'll be talking about stats, flyers, and conversations, of course. All right. So I would love to hear from you guys. You guys, please feel free to unmute or put your stuff in the chat. Who's feeling a little different about buyers lately? So we know that people have been, yep, I see lots of hands up. Okay, so what is it that's happening? Obviously, we all know that people have been like, oh my gosh, there's no listings, right? But things are starting to feel a little different than that right now. What's going on? What have you been hearing?
Sandra, you have your hand up. Did you mean to raise your hand so that you can speak?
No, I was trying to fix my keyboard.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I think one of the things I'm seeing, starting February with the buyers, that they're offering a lot more just with, as is condition, waive of appraisal gap, and much more, even going so much above and beyond, and sometimes not even getting accepted. I see that hesitation especially with waive of appraisal gap as is. I think going above is sometimes they're comfortable, but just with going above the price, they're not always getting accepted. And I didn't see a lot of that in like December or January. That's what I'm noticing with my buyers.
So Tanya, right? Is that how you pronounce it, Tanya?
Yeah, Tandy. Yeah.
So you're just like buyer exhaustion, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of the buyers are going on hold for some time too.
Yes. Right. So I think the explanation of why we are seeing the interest rates go up is so that we see that days on market starts to go up as well. That gives them an opportunity to get into that home. And just, although we know that the rising interest rates, and we've got scripts for that, just know that that is why the federal government's doing that today, so that the affordability on housing comes down, average days on market goes up. So instead of us seeing 30 contracts, we get down to 2 or 3, and let's hope we get to a balanced market, right? Where you put in a contract, it's not at list price, you negotiate to the best ability for everybody is happy, and you move forward. So I think the conversation is encouraging them not to give up, right? It's hang on, we got to keep trying, and eventually this is where the market's going to go. And it's a good thing, right?
And what are you guys hearing because of these interest rates going up? That's changing the conversation with your buyers, right? Anybody having people calling that? I see Tim nodding. Anybody having calls with frantic buyers about what do we do? I need to change the price point of the house I'm looking at right now.
My buyers are worried about not just the interest rates, but the taxes going up, like the property tax. And if they're going to be able to afford, what they were pre-approved for originally, when you add in the increased taxes.
I think a lot of that's a great
inflation.
point.
So you have your increased gas bills and night court bills. This is just what a couple of my buyers had mentioned to me.
Yeah, inflation in the rates is just part of it, right? I think a lot of us have seen this graphic floating around where it's talking about how the interest rates have gone up and how that's affected the purchase power, right, of our buyers. And some people are probably being told by their buyers that they want to wait to see if rates go down. So we're going to talk about that today too. All right, should I start with the inflation slide, Tammy?
Yeah, you can. I just want to speak to Anne-Marie a little bit. Anne-Marie, I would ask them, right? Everybody needs housing. So for your buyers, let's just play this out a little bit. For your buyers, what are their options? right now as a buyer?
They could just stay where they're at. I
And
mean,
where are they at?
He's in a townhome, and
Okay.
I know that he doesn't like the stairs. And he did take a little pause from the market, but now he's come back and he's been texting me and everything else.
So his motivation again has changed. Something changed within him, right?
Right.
What is that? So if you're the buyer, I would say, Anne Marie, what is that? What has made you want to come back in the market?
His thing was he's really getting sick of the townhouse and the stairs, and he'd rather just buy now before the rates go up higher. And then we did have that conversation that you had said, and I keep telling him, I'm like, have some patience. It's going to get better. And he just texted me a little while ago and said, hey, I just noticed they're doing a couple price reductions. And I said, yes. I said, it's getting better. It's very slow, but this is what the government wanted, So
To slow down the market.
He said, well, maybe late summer. And I said, well, yeah. I said, let's just keep looking. But there is hope on the horizon. And I think now he just wants to get out of the townhouse.
Right.
With all the
Okay.
stairs and.
Good. So you've had that conversation. So does everybody raise your hand or raise your either in person or on Zoom? How many people feel like we're in the nurturing business right now? Nurturing our buyers, right? So I think what we also need to talk about is when we're in the nurture mode of our buyers is what's your system to nurture them? When are you time blocking? What day on your calendar are you literally touching base and checking on all these buyers and having communication and encouraging them, letting them know that you're their advocate and you're in there every day. You're looking in the PLN. So what's the system around that? Because that's where we're at today. We're nurturing. Right?
That's
So it's all in the
100%
systems.
right.
It's all in the time block. So anybody care to share what your nurture is for these buyers and how to stay in front of them until their time, right? And also sharing your wins, like sharing with your buyers who are frustrated, sharing with them some of the successes that you have had. Ken, you had your virtual hand up for a minute. Was that something that you wanted to share?
No, it was just you wanted to know how many people are in the business of kind of
Nurture?
nurturing. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it is. They're concerned with. I think with home sellers. I know we're talking about buyers, but home sellers still have a disillusion that, hey, this is still a really great market. You can get more for your home and this and that. And it's like, well, hold on. A year ago, mortgage rates were 3%. Now they're 5.25%. Let's change expectations. So I think there's nurturing back and forth with both parties.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. So what's the system for nurturing your buyers and your sellers in this market? Because that's the thing right now today. So how are you nurturing them? When are you time blocking to nurture? What day of the week are you doing that? How are you getting creative?
And how are you preparing for the conversation, right? We already know what questions they're going to be asking. Do you have the answers for them? Do you know how to navigate that conversation? Oh my gosh, we tied it into the title of the class.
No, Amy, you did a really good job at that.
I think the nurturing doesn't ever stop. There's always something with every conversation. So I mean, yeah, it's an ongoing kind of process. I don't necessarily set aside time on a specific day or a specific meeting. There's always something added into every phone conversation, every meeting, all right, well, let's kind of get back to reality here, folks, right? Yeah, housing market's still great. Guess what happened to inflation? See, a year and a half ago, people didn't care what they were paying for a house, 20, 30,000 over asked. All they knew was what their mortgage payment was going to be. That's all they cared about.
I think that's a really good place to go is to the payment, right? So Anna Marie says, okay, they're worried about taxes. They're worried about their natural gas, their heating bill, their affordability. And so on one of your, like when you set those things up every week and you start running through your list of the buyers and the sellers that you're nurturing before you call them, think about how you can help them, right? So Anna Marie, you said, okay, my seller, my buyer is working on this. Some suggestions you could make them is when we find this right house, one of the things that we can call is we can call the village or the county, right? And see what, if they can give us a projected tax increase on that house. Now, when I say we, I really mean the buyer, because we don't want to have a conversation and something get misconstrued when it goes to the buyer. So you can assure them that before you move forward on any house, that we can reach out to the county and take a look at that. I think that we know where the natural gas prices are. So Anna Marie, just saying that, what could you do to help him understand what the cost of those gas bills are going to be?
You know, he's looking at houses similar to mine. So I just told him what my bills are and, you know, how much it's gone up, which isn't really bad. And basically, you know, just telling him that the inflation's not going to be here forever. I mean, it's going to have to bottom out. I mean, in the 80s, it was really bad. I was pretty little. I just remember my parents talking about it, but it didn't last forever. I like that graph you just showed with the gas prices. And I did send him all those slides from Gary. But this is a good one too, because people are making more money now too than they were.
Yeah, we have costs. There's definitely cost of increase. So I think your nurture for this client is definitely providing graphs, which gives him visuals. You're sharing your own heat bill at a comparable size of house to what he wants to buy. And then when you find the right house, providing him with the name and phone number of the county so he can call the county direct and just see if they can give him some type of guesstimate, right?
Like that.
Overall, what the taxes might go up to on the new purchase price.
That's great.
So now you go to the next person that you're going to nurture. And you start asking the questions of what's holding you back? How can I help you? And our job is to provide that information so they can move forward. And Ken, all I can suggest is, you know, anybody that knows me, especially in my coaching, I'm all about policy, procedures, and systems, right? And I believe that selling comes from the consistency of the activities that you're doing. So, you know, all I can make is a suggestion is, when do you time block? We time block to lead generate. We definitely in today's market need to add that time block in nurturing the existing buyers and sellers. Because we used to talk about, so think of it this way, we're shifting. We used to talk about how the market time on a listing. We need to talk about market time for our buyers and our sellers who want to sell but are holding back. So our market time, although we always think of it in the same way as a listing, what is our average market time for these buyers that we have or these sellers that we have? Because we're all holding market time. It's just a different way to look at it now. What is the average number of contracts that we're writing for our buyers to get them into contract, secure them a house, right? That's information really we haven't talked about, but we could talk about, right? Preparing your buyer today on the average. So anybody raise their hand and share. If you had a buyer that you worked with and now you have been able to secure a house, how many contracts did you write for that buyer? Who's got a buyer that they just worked with and you wrote contracts on before you secured? Dr. Jerry, do you got your hand up?
Yes, I
know
do.
Kenny does too.
This one, I had to write about 8 contracts before I finally got one.
All right, awesome. So we have 8.
Yeah, it was so frustrating by the 6th and 7th one. I didn't even put it on opportunities until it was accepted and you know.
All right, so we've got 8. Julie, how many, you've got your hand up. How many contracts have you written? Okay, maybe Julie.
I didn't have my hand up. I'm sorry. I'm just listening.
Okay. Joe, how many contracts have you written?
Well, this was last year. We wrote 10, and in
10
one of those
contracts.
contracts that got accepted, the seller's agent was doing dual agency, and
Yeah.
they took another contract within the first 5 days and came up with some BS reason to bounce us out of it. Okay.
Okay, but
So
you did write. Okay.
I wrote 10. Now that being said, recently in the last month, I wrote 2. And got-
Two. Awesome. Tanvi, how many have you written?
I've had success with 2. However, yeah, for one buyer, I remember this is in March, we wrote total of 4 contracts. He got accepted on 3, okay, but he always got cold feet right before, the seller is supposed to sign, and we're like supposed to edit the contract for some reason, because they were just feeling they're offering too much, and they would just come up with some random reason.
Okay, so what we're not hearing is 1 contract, right? So a conversation of expectation with your buyers would be prepared, right? On an average, our agents are writing anywhere from at least 2 to 10 contracts before their buyer secures a house. Do you feel that your buyer client then would feel really good? At least you're preparing them. Okay, well, we're 3 in, we only have another 5 to go, but let's keep on doing this, right? Because they eventually will get a house. Now, right, through this process, the other conversation of expectation is stacking the contract, right? Letting them know why they didn't. How can we move forward and adjust, right? So that we can stack this contract with more opportunities in the contract for the seller, right? And a little bit every time they might write listen, what happens when you practice, you get a lot better. The buyer will start practicing and understanding, but we have to be their cheerleader. We have to be there to say, don't give up, right? We're gonna do this.
Okay, so from there, I think there's some chat about the slides in the chat. Go figure. I'm going to go ahead and share some of them, because how do we prepare them? How do we set up the expectations? We need to know the data behind it, right? So if you guys were at family reunion or attended virtually or have been on our calls recently, you'll have seen this slide already. This one is all about inflation. And Anna Marie, we were talking about this a little bit already to help you see the conversation, not hear it, but see it right in a chart here. So focus on what we said, that mortgage payment. So this is a great way to refer, I kind of give buyers a way to understand that, yes, even in with the way that interest rates are going, we have a lot of room right here, 24% room for change to match where houses would have been priced, including inflation back in the late 80s. So what this chart is showing is that in 2021, a mortgage was about $1,455 for a home that was just under $350,000. Now, in 89, houses, of course, were lower priced. They were about $94,000, and that mortgage rate was $825, or not rate. The mortgage payment was about $825. So if you adjust for 1989 with inflation, that home in today's market would be $218, and that mortgage would be $1915. Okay, so this same house from 89 to the current market with inflation would be about this like dark blue color here. Now, what we're seeing is that homes are going obviously higher than 218, right? Some of them are, but a lot of them are closer to that 350 range. So even with a 350 range, with the rates, when they made this, they were still a little lower in the threes. That mortgage was $1,455, whereas adjusting for inflation from 89 to current day, the mortgage rate would have been $1915. So you can see that's a $500 difference. A 25% wiggle room in inflation. So even though we've gone up from this a little bit, our affordability is still under for the adjusted inflation. Does that make sense? I see some nods. Okay, great. Some other things we talked about here were the mortgage rates. So we've been talking about average rates a little bit. I don't know if you guys caught that. That's been sprinkled into the conversation a little bit here. So you can see we were down here with the 3s, but then we have our historical average from 90 to 20, and then also from 72 to 20. So our recent average has been just under 6%, but historically, we've been closer to 8. And look at these. In the early 80s, people were still buying homes with 16% interest rate on their mortgage. And this talks to long-term affordability. One thing we haven't touched on that I want to make sure you guys are all aware of is we're not trying to time the market. If somebody is looking to be in their house for a long time, it doesn't matter, right? Affordability, the property, as long as they maintain that property, the property value is going to go up, right? If you're talking to investors and they're worried about interest rates, well, they're going to have a renter in there. They're paying the mortgage, not them, not the investor, right? The tenant's paying it. So have those conversations in your back pocket as well. I do want to point out that this is a slide deck from Family Reunion. So there are several more slides in here. This is the full thing. I do have, I'll put in the chat, I have the link to it. So for any guests on here that are not part of Keller Williams, unfortunately, this is only available to KW agents, but for the rest of you, I'll put the link in the chat. You will have to log in with your Keller Williams login to get access to these slides, okay? So what Tammy and I did was took these slides and made a flyer, which you saw earlier. Let me unshare this screen and I'm going to reshare it bigger. We figured this is a lot of information. We can keep talking about the information in here, but this is a lot of data and it's a lot for somebody who doesn't know real estate to understand and comprehend. So how can we take the most important bits out of those slides and put it into a piece of paper, postcard, social media graphic, anything like that to make it easily digestible and to start that conversation and to have something for your buyers to refer back to. So give me 1 second, I'll reshare here. And this is what we came up with. So you can obviously, you put your own logos and stuff like that on there as well. But Tammy, would you like to talk a little bit about how you would present this to a buyer?
So one of the reasons why Amy and I wanted to share this was because we felt that a lot of people were starting to struggle with the rising interest rates, right? And so first of all, I'd like to say is that having new scripts around this new market, right? And we will transition and we'll transition right through this. And we are heading towards a more balanced market. So that's one of the things that we would say is, number one, who do you know that bought in the 80s? Because ask them their interest rate, which most likely is probably going to be maybe a set of parents. I know we bought our first home in the 80s and it was at 12%. Right. So that's the first thing. This slide goes right to understanding that we're still a long ways, even from where we were in the 80s, and people still bought houses. They're always going to buy houses. We're amazing, right? So I've started selling real estate in 2000, and in 2004, we were at the top of our market. I sold 20 million in sales. And by 2008, I was down to 9 million in sales. Right. So that was a huge adjustment. However, then we went back up. Right. So we're in adjustment again, but people transition, they will come around. I think it's one script that we can provide to you that we did win with buyers class. And one script is just like when I had asked, where is your buyer? Having the conversation around your buyer, right? Like, what's your options? Well, they could stay renting. That might be one option that a buyer has in today's market is, well, I could just stay renting. Well, rents have gone up 8 to 9%. Home prices have gone up 30%. Interest rate has only gone up 5%. Right? So if they feel that renting is a better option, then that's a script that you can have around that. Does anybody have any questions about that? What are some hurdles that you're coming across that you would really like help on as far as the script goes in today's market? What are some challenges that you're all experiencing? The reason that brought you to this call? Does anybody care to share why you came to this call today?
Hey, Tammy.
Yeah, Joe.
I've just got a new buyer, and he's heard about all the stories. He doesn't want to overpay for the property. Doesn't want to go into the nonsense of bidding 5, 10, 15,000 over a house. What's your thoughts on that?
So what I would say to him, Joe, if we could script a little bit, Joe, I completely understand where your mindset is. However, I have buyers that felt that way 6 months ago and now wish that they would have bought 6 months ago. Is this conversation that we're going to have 6 months from today, you're going to wish that you would have bought today, just like those buyers wish they would have bought 6 months ago? This is the fact, Joe. We know what we know today. If you don't buy today, then where do you reside? Where do you live? What's your options if you don't purchase in today's market, Joe?
Okay.
Right?
You got it.
Does that help anybody? Yeah. Now, what could Joe have said back? Well, I think I'll just stay renting. And then I would have said, okay, let's go over the rent versus buy. So interest rates are at 5%. Purchase prices have gone up by 30%. So if we have another year like we had this past year, that means if you don't buy today, you're looking at a 30% increase, possibly 15%, possibly. It doesn't matter, right? That's larger than rent. So if you stay renting, you're at 8 or 9% increase. But if you purchase, you can be 15 to 30% increase, which is the lesser. It's still better today, right? Now, then you could ask them, how long do you plan on staying in this home? If they say, well, we plan on staying in this home for, we have a growing family. We don't see ourselves moving in 10 or 15 years. Then it does not matter. If you maintain the house, right? We're not in a crash. We're in a gap. The gap is going to close, right?
Well, and then what happens too with that conversation if you talk to the renter saying, well, we know that, I know you're worried about interest rates. There's two conversations to have here. One is we know where the interest rates are now. If they go up, you're in a better shape, right? If you think you're going to wait for them to come down, and we purchase today, you can always refinance. You can get that lower rate. You can refinance, have a lower payment, or you can refinance at a 15-year loan and keep doing the same mortgage rate and pay your house off faster, right? So that's on the home buying side. Now, if they're renting and they're worried about rates, well, what about increase in rent? Have you thought about that? You know, when you're locked into a mortgage, what your payment is. That's not going to change. Maybe a little with taxes and insurance, right? But rents have gone up astronomically in the last couple of years. I was just on the Pivot call this morning, and they were talking about somebody who was paying $1,600 a month. His rent came due, and it was over $1,000 difference with the rent hike. Can you afford that? His choice was either find a new home or come up with an extra grand every month. That's 12 grand a year. Probably more than they would have paid with the increased interest rate.
So, and if somebody says, well, we can just stay put in the townhouse that we currently live in. Yes, you can. Although if you keep it in perspective, right? You buy high, you sell high. You buy low, you sell low. So that's the perspective conversation. Right? Yep. So let's get you in this game. Let's talk about the opportunities that you can put into the contract. I call it stacking the contract, right? Where all can we stack this contract, right? And if we're not quite there yet, we keep on going until we can get you there. And you start educating your buyer in how they can stack that contract. Does everybody understand stacking a contract? Allocating funds, touching every line item that you possibly can, reducing the tax credit having a conversation around opening up the closing date for the seller. And so now you start educating the client and sitting down with them and really going through that contract before you're ready to put that contract in on a listing. Okay, so challenge me. Somebody challenge me. Let's work on a script. Somebody challenge me with what you're going through today.
What do you say? Let's say we go door knocking with this flyer. All right, Tammy, you be the agent. Who wants to be the client that's opening the door? Tanvi's laughing at me.
Well, no, I'm just thinking this is more for this flyer to me is more for a buyer who needs to overcome the interest rate today. Right?
So let's say we're at a networking event, right?
Yeah.
Take door knocking out of it. You put it on, you're at like a housing market event, right? You know people are there because they're trying to figure out what to do. Should they stay? Should they go? Should they buy? Should they rent? Here's the flyer you have out at your booth, right? Who's going to be the client? Who's going to walk up to Tammy? She's approachable. She's friendly. Come on. I'm going to volunteer somebody pretty soon here.
Come on, you guys, raise your hand. You came to this class for something. You're looking for answers. Have we provided? Maybe we've provided all the answers for them.
I guess that's it. We can wrap it. That's a day.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
I'll volunteer.
Awesome, Anna Marie. Thank you. Okay, let's go, Anna Marie.
Okay, so I'm the buyer now that you're approaching me, or I'm going door knocking, or I'm.
What do you want to? Do you want to?
Buyer?
Yeah. Do you want to be? I'll ask you this. Do you want to be the buyer or do you want to be the realtor?
I'll be the buyer.
All right. Awesome.
Give her lots of objections. Give her a hard time.
Okay. Well, why would I want to, buy a house now? I'm paying 3% since I refinanced last year. And why would I go and pay $20,000 more in these bidding wars? What if my husband gets a job transfer in 2 years? Now we've lost equity in the home.
So Anna Marie, you obviously called me. You've contacted me for a reason, right? What is your reason for contacting me? What's your thoughts behind thinking about buying another home?
Well, our house is small, and I have 4 kids, and we're outgrowing it. But we just refinanced, and we really like the low interest rate. This is actually a conversation I've had with someone. So, and we really like the low interest rate, and I don't know if I'm ready to be in this market and having to put up 20 to 30,000 more to get a house.
So what do you think? Okay, so I completely appreciate that. Think of it this way, Anne Marie. You have a house to sell, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So would you welcome $20,000 or $30,000 over your list price when you sell that home?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. So guess what? When we purchase, right now that opportunity gives you the opportunity to purchase the same way you're going to sell. So how you're going to buy, Anna Marie, is how we're going to sell your house. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I like that. I'm writing that down.
There you go. All right. So who else has had a challenge that, like Anna Marie, that just said, okay, I'm going to write that down? Because we're here to help you.
Well,
got to raise your hand.
hello.
Jose Rios.
Yes, I'm brand new to the business. I started in January 28th. But
well, congratulations, because you know what, Jose, I'm going to tell you, you make it through this and you will make it through anything.
Well, I got my first closing coming up tomorrow. So
awesome.
So I got a couple of properties listed already. But I do have a client that I've been nurturing since before I got my license. And their situation is that they have a townhome in Hanover Park.
Okay.
And the husband kind of bounces from job to job.
Okay.
They modify their loan. They're comfortable with their mortgage payment, but they have 3 girls. And from time to time, the husband brings in the mom to come and stay with them.
Sure.
It's a 3-bedroom townhome. So they want to get something bigger. They're motivated to buy, but the interest rate has, kind of backed them down and beat them into a corner to where they're not sure if this is the proper time. So I like what you said, that we're going to sell the same, we're going to buy the same way we're going to sell. That was very crucial. That's definitely something that I'm going to try to implement in our next conversation. Now,
Yeah.
my other concern is because I have a personal relationship with them. They're friends of many years. I don't want to put them in a position where that comfortable mortgage payment that they have now is going to be something of the past, where, back then, I remember when we were paying $900 before, I don't want to be blamed for them wanting
So
to.
what I hear you saying, Jose, is you must be very influential and you don't want to sell them into
Exactly.
something, right? So don't sell them. Don't sell them. Our job is to provide really good information and never judge what the client does. You say to them, this is your script. I am here as a professional to provide you with all the information and the knowledge you need to make the right choice for you and your family.
Okay. Yeah, I've spoken to them many times. I've even, taken the time to update them on what's been selling on their block. I mean, they
That's
have
awesome.
their other townhomes with couple doors down that we're selling for, $20,000-$30,000 over their asking price, and it doesn't even have what their townhome has. They have new driveway, new windows, roof, all that stuff, and this other property's trash, and it's selling for 20,000-30,000 over their asking
So
price.
I can't stress this enough, right? If you do not have a great lender partner with you in today's market, find that lender that's going to pour into you, provide value to you at a very high level. Remember, we are realtors. When you decide to buy or sell your house, I am the expert for you, right? When it comes to affordability and the whole money aspect of what your payment is going to be with everything else, because we're real estate agents, we don't know their whole financial picture. However, I have a great partner in my lender. I want you two to sit down. He will dig into that. He will help you decide what the affordability piece is on it, if you can afford it. When you get through that, if you are ready to buy or sell, I'm the expert that's going to do that. Once I sell or find you that perfect purchase, now I'm going to send you over to my great partner, Mr. Attorney. And Mr. Attorney is going to handle all the legalities to get us to the closing table. He's now going to work with your lender, a very close relationship, and I'm going to stay in the picture as your advocate. You can always come to me, but this is why I surround you, the client, with the best partners that I could find.
Okay, so I've already plugged them up with the lender, and they're working with the lender. They're kind of dragging their feet on getting the necessary documents.
Okay, so Jose, what is holding you back? That's what I would say to them. I'm your nurture, because now you're in this is a nurture client, right? And when you follow up with them, listen, you're great partners with your lender, and the lender says that, you guys haven't provided the forms, and that's fine. Just let me know what's holding you back. Something's holding them back. And if you can help them get through that barrier, then you'll continue to move on. Something's holding them back. So find out what that something is and see if you can help them move forward through that. Just like Anne Marie said, he's worried about the cost of what the heating bill is going to be. So she's provided him with a gas bill from her own home, which is about the same square footage of what he's looking for. And as soon as you can assure them that you won't do anything until they call the tax assessor to see if they can give them some idea of what the taxes are going to go up on that. So those are two barriers that's holding her client back. And now that will help them move forward.
Yeah, I think the barrier that's holding them up, and I already mentioned to them, was I will not have any access to your financials. I won't know what you make a year. I don't know any of that. That's between you and the lender.
Okay, so that's
giving them that assurance.
But you think you said, I think I know.
Yeah, based on conversations that I've had with them, you know.
So I think the more candid conversation is, do you feel that our personal relationship is getting in the way? And if it is, I'll step aside and find somebody that you can hand them over to. And it's better to get 25, 30, 50% referral than it is to get a 0% at all. So you have a fiduciary responsibility to your client. And if you feel that's what's holding them back, then you need to bring that up. And you need to let them know it is okay. I will step aside, right? I will find you a great agent. If that's what's holding you back, don't let that hold them back.
Yeah. And that's one of my clients. I have another client that's a bit trickier. He is adamant about buying a property. It's a short sale property. But every time I try to contact him, he's out of town. Okay. And he's like, yeah, you know, so I found out that they made an offer on the property for 145. He says, offer them 160. But I'm like, I can't offer them the 160 until you sign the offer, you know? So
well, yeah, you have to set, that's a conversation of expectations. This is just who I am as a real estate agent, right? Like I can't, that's not the way that I work. So if that's a conversation of expectation. Until he's in town, like when you're in town and you're ready to go see houses, let me know and we'll set something up. Otherwise, no, I can't offer that.
He wants this particular one. And I went and saw it for him, took pictures for him. I told him this property is falling apart. He says, I don't care. I want it. That's it. I'm not looking at any other homes.
Well, he can sign anything virtually. Why isn't he signing the contract?
Because he's on the road back and forth. He's an older gentleman, you know, he goes different places. So I'm trying to corral him in a way, but.
Well, this is what I will say.
He doesn't really want the property.
Yeah, words or actions speak louder than words, Jose. So you just may have somebody that talks one way, but his actions are showing you completely different. And I would just nurture the relationship, but move on.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Congratulations. You're going to be awesome. So, all right. Can we help anybody else?
What's something that you picked up from today that's going to help you in your conversations with your buyers? What'd you learn? Nothing? Nobody learned anything today?
Amy, I do. I like that graphic. Hello. I like that graphic about adjusted for inflation. So I didn't truly understand first when I saw that comparison, but that's a great graphic, which I think I will use that script moving forward, conversing with buyers.
So the graphics
and then I want to just point out if this is the one you were talking about, right, Bobby?
Yep.
Okay, so this column here, the dates, and then these two house columns, that is exactly what's in this chart right here on the flyer. So we got rid of all the extra stuff. I lost it now. Here, this guy. We got rid of all the extra stuff. Now, these are good things to know about to be able to speak to, but it really helps you hone in on the housing specifically, right?
Yep, that's pretty nice.
And with that said, since you guys are all still here, I'm going to put in the chat. This is in Canva. I just shared the template link in there. This is Canva Pro. So some of these things might be like advanced graphics or an advanced template that you have to pay for. So I'm not 100% sure, but I just want to give you that heads up there. If anybody doesn't have Canva Pro and they're thinking about adding that to their portfolio of tools, I just put my referral link in the chat too.
You know, use these, use what Amy's provided. You've got a couple different graphics, post it out there, because once you have a comment, so the more conversations we had lead to appointments, appointments lead to contracts, contracts lead to closings, right? So anything that you can put out there that leads to a conversation, you're halfway there to an appointment.
Oh, and Christopher, I learned that it's important to nurture all clients in order to continue to build credibility and confidence in me as a realtor. Thank you. Great talk.
Great talk, you guys. Thank you.
I think there's probably one other thing that we can all learn today. I mentioned that Tammy is a productivity coach. Tammy, are you taking on clients?
I'm taking on, I have 3 available spots open. So if you are thinking about getting into coaching, you certainly can reach out to me. And Amy, do you want to put, you can find me, of course, on E2P, my phone number. Amy can put that in the chat. But yeah, if you'd like to have a conversation about how to break through your ceiling, right? Actually, a few of my coaching clients are on this call today. So
I'm going to put.
oh, Joe Kinney, he's raising his hand. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, I was in the middle of walking a dog and doing some other stuff when you were talking, Tammy, so forgive me. But hey, the government official here is going to say, when you piggyback on your calling the county, smaller thing you can do is the areas that you're living in within that county, check the school districts, because the school districts are 70% of your tax bill.
There you go.
And if you get a school district that's talking about having a referendum, like I know the high school district in 86 and 99, they've had 140, on average, $138 million tax referendums. I know like elementary school one here in town is talking about having that. Look at what's going on with the school districts, because the county may not have the number for you on the tax, but if you monitor the school districts that you're moving to, you'll see the propensity of them having a referendum and increasing your taxes. That's just
there you go.
Tip of the day.
There you go. Love it.
All right. Well, to kind of bring it full circle, you guys, we did a lot today. We talked about the stats, right? What conversations we're having with buyers right now. If you grab the chat before we leave, I put the link in there for the whole family reunion stats presentation. I also put the link in there for that Canva template. So you do not have to create it. You just grab the link and pull it right into your account. And at the beginning of class, and Christopher just mentioned it, we did talk a lot about nurturing folks. So we're not just talking to them when we want to do a deal with them, right? So next week, it'll be Cinco de Mayo. We're having another guest on, and we will be talking about postcards and how you can nurture a farm or your clients with high value conversations in a postcard. That's something they're going to want to keep on the fridge. And then we'll take that to the next level with how do you take that content and use it digitally for free as well. So that'll be our next Mastery Marketing at 10:30 Central next Thursday. I can't believe it'll be May already.
Well, it sure doesn't feel like May.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming.